reason we've all gathered here at Hamley's to make a saddle together is to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Wade saddle tree, which was developed here in 1937-38, that era. So we've decided to get together and make a saddle that will commemorate that event and give Hamley's a little attention, and also create a saddle that can then be used as a fundraiser for the TCAA. The tree maker who originated the Wade saddle tree was a Hamley employee, longtime Hamley employee named Walt Youngman, and we chose Warren Wright from New Zealand to make a tree for this saddle because Warren was so heavily influenced by Walt Youngman and Bill Sevier, who succeeded Walt. When we were deciding how to decorate this saddle, we wanted it to be a fully carved, Hamley-looking cowboy saddle. When we were trying to decide on the carved job, we went through Hamley catalogs of the period and chose a design that would reflect that period and Hamley's style. So a lot of people would call it Northwest style. So it's fairly large flowers and relatively simple pattern compared to some of the fancier carved jobs you'll see. But it's very cowboy looking and very typical of Hamley's work of the time. One of the perks of this job, actually, especially to do with the stamping, is there was a great stamper by the name of Bill Knight who worked here during the 50s, in fact the entire decade of the 50s at Hamley's. And we were fortunate to have Bill Knight's tools, that we could choose some tools that he would have used to execute this carved job. Another reason that we chose Hamley's, or a fortunate coincidence, is the fact that Pedro Pedrini, one of our members, is now in charge of the saddle shop at Hamley's. So we decided we would converge here. There's plenty of room for 5 saddle makers to work at the same time, so it's an ideal location apart from the historic aspects. And it's something that, as far as we know, has never been done before, having 5 separate saddle makers work on one saddle. So we've had to struggle a little bit to decide on the division of labor and who's going to stamp and who's going to hand sew the cantle binding, who's going to fit the parts. And so we've just decided, rather than try to structure it too much, we'll just all dive in wherever we're needed and do whatever has to be done. So we're in the midst right now of, or nearing the end actually, of 3 days of working on this saddle together. When the saddle is completed, we'll take it to the annual TCAA exhibition in Oklahoma City, and it will be auctioned by live auction at our banquet on the Saturday night of that weekend. And the funds will go towards the TCAA's education programs. Well, apart from the fundraising, I think this really started as an idea for all of the saddle makers, 5 of us, to get together and talk shop and exchange ideas, and part of it is just camaraderie. My wife calls it a male bonding session, but it's really more than that. We all work in our separate private shops alone all year, and it's great to be able to compare different methods and procedures and kid each other about whose is best. The TCAA is really all about education. Everything from our annual show, to mentoring in our shops, to fellowships that we award every year. It's always about education, and that also applies to the members. So ongoing member education is important to the TCAA. And that's exactly what we're doing here for these 3 days in the Hamley shop.